Welcome, everyone. Really nice to see so many folks joining us today. I think I saw, yeah, we've got 63 folks here today. So hopefully that means you're as excited as we are about what's next for both Consultants for Good and Philanthroforce. If I can switch on my slides, then we'll continue. Great. Okay, so I'm Lauren Andrasky. I'm the founder and president of Consultants for Good. Consultants for Good started about 5.5 years ago now in May 2018. I was a nonprofit consultant myself, pretty new to the Denver area where I still am now. And I was looking for my community. I was starting my business pretty new. And I was used to going to networking events. And what I was finding was that when I was at the nonprofit networking events, once I had switched over to being a consultant, suddenly these were my potential clients instead of my peers. I was looking for a place where I could say, what do you think about this presentation? Or how does my pricing strategy look? And that didn't feel like I could do that with the group of nonprofits that, again, I was hoping that they would see me as an expert. And I mean, to be honest, I really didn't know what I was doing running my own business at that time. And I didn't want my potential clients to know that about me. So I wanted to find some peers that I could ask those questions as I grew and as I built out the consulting business that I'd been hoping to grow. I was also going to a lot of startup, kind of more entrepreneurship meetups. And those ones felt a little bit different. Those ones were very profit driven, lots of talk of venture capitalism and who's funding them. And that is quite different than the way that most nonprofit consultants and coaches get started. So I reached out to a couple of other nonprofit consultants that I had found on LinkedIn in Denver. I didn't even know most of them, and said, hey, does this sound helpful? Do you want to meet up? They said yes. So about 15 of us met in the basement of a coffee shop that May. And since then, we have grown quite a bit. So we're now the world's largest community of nonprofit consultants. Sean Hale, who's on the call as well, he was mentioning this earlier, but I was able to leave my full-time job in May, supporting a community of international development nonprofits to actually be able to run and launch Consultants for Good full-time. Part of that launch, over the past 2 years since Philanthroforce was founded, which I know is what brought many of you here, we've collaborated pretty significantly with them. They've been an incredible collaboration partner. They've really shared our values of abundance over scarcity. One thing that I had noticed in the nonprofit consulting sector was a lot of, I won't show you my RFP template, I won't tell you who my clients are, really holding things quite close. And if anybody was hearing about potential requests for proposals, they weren't sharing them because they wanted to keep them to themselves, or only the people that they knew would also share these with them in a pretty tight-knit circle. Sean Hale and Sean Ramsey, the co-founders of Philanthroforce, did not approach things that way. They really wanted to share, in some ways, our organizations could have been seen as competition, and yet none of us ever really treated it that way. It was, how can we help each other grow? How can we support each other's memberships? Because we were different in the same way that each individual consultant is different. It's not your particular RFP template that makes people love working with you. It's your approach, it's who you are, it's everything else that you bring to these engagements. So we've been collaborating for a long time, and we'd both also heard several folks saying, I don't want to pay for another membership, when I was getting ready to launch Consultants for Good paid membership, which had been free for the past 5 years. I don't want to go to 2 different places when I'm looking for content or connecting with other consultants. I don't want nonprofits to have to go to multiple places to find a consultant. I want them all to go to one place and be able to find me, instead of making it more difficult or having them default to just existing relationships and referrals, which can lead to a lot of inequity within the nonprofit consulting sector. So this summer, we have been talking about it, and things moved pretty quickly because I had intended on launching the new Consultants for Good membership this November anyways, but we were able to pull it off and bring everything together, bringing a lot of the existing growth that both of our communities had experienced, the really incredible technical resources that Philanthroforce has offered for years now, and Consultants for Good's sense of deep community and support of each other. So as of November 13th, Consultants for Good acquired Philanthroforce. And so everything under Philanthroforce is operating under the Consultants for Good umbrella now. I will show you what that means on a technical level soon. But right now, we're just really excited to be able to join forces, make it easier for both consultants and nonprofits to know where to go for that support, for these relationships, and for those resources. Sean Hale, since you're here, anything you want to add about our collaboration?
I could ramble on for a while. I don't have any prepared notes, but for the benefit of those folks who weren't with us 2 minutes before the start of the hour and who, before I think you hit the record button, this merger just makes tons and tons of sense. And so Sean Ramsey and I were just really thrilled that it all came together. He and I did a retreat back in January to really plan out this year, figure out what we needed to do, especially to continue to build what we were doing, build it towards sustainability. And a couple of the key factors were because we both, Philanthroforce for both of us had been a side gig, and with the help of the communities around us, both of generous sponsors, of the nonprofit consultants, and other partners, we'd been able to build the world's largest directory of nonprofit consultants and the world's largest capacity builder for nonprofit consultants. But we saw that that was really hard for both of us as a side gig because we both have day jobs. He has a practice doing virtual Salesforce administration for nonprofits, and I have a practice providing financial, like fractional CFO and other services to small and mid-sized nonprofits. And so we saw, really for this to work well, it's going to need somebody who can really focus on it full time to get it to the size and the critical mass that it needs to meet our criteria for sustainable and truly impactful. And another thing that we saw that it was going to need that we hadn't built out yet for Philanthroforce, but that we had on the wish list and it was becoming increasingly clear was going to be critical was a stronger community aspect. There was some community building happening informally and certainly people meeting during some of the webinars. But when we thought about organizations like Consultants for Good, like that was much more the model that we had in mind, in where you have consultants who are talking to each other on a regular basis and sharing pointers, whether it's about things that are specific to their niches or talking about certain funders or the 1,000 other things that are opportunities for us to collaborate, to share knowledge, and to help lift each other up in support of the whole nonprofit ecosystem. And we knew, I've done community building like that before, and it's a lot of work. And so fast forward to, I think, over the spring, summer, where Lauren made it official that she was going to be doing C4G full time. We both kind of stopped and said, there might be something here. And we'd already been, in relationship with Lauren for a while and been doing some interaction with C4G, doing some collaborative activities. And so we started having a conversation about, what would you think about having this whole thing under one roof? Because we think it's better for the ecosystem. And we explored it. We saw that our values were highly aligned, that what she was wanting to do with C4G and what we were wanting to do with Philanthroforce was highly aligned. And we'd also thought for a while that really the national nonprofit ecosystem really, it's going to be better served, in whether it's the national ecosystem or the local ones, by having a single place for all the consultants, rather than having all these different silos in different regions in these smaller efforts, because there are certain things that you can only do well when you get to a critical mass. And so we had a number of conversations over the summer, fall, and things just kept falling into place. And we even got it to come together. Yeah, it was, I think, fairly quickly, which was great for Lauren's timeline and worked out for us. And we're really excited about this because we do think that what you're going to see in 2024 and beyond is a whole lot bigger and better, both for you as consultants, for the nonprofits you serve, and for the ecosystem, than it would have been if we had still been under two roofs. Anyway, that's enough rambling for now. Thank you all for being here and for supporting this.
Thanks, Sean. So at this day and age, Consultants for Good, we're entirely peer driven. So the intention has never been for this to be my group, but it's always been the members group. I'll talk about what that looks like in practice and a few things later, but for example, all of our meetings that we have, which are our monthly consultant sessions for consultants, those are entirely based on what members want to teach and want to learn. There is so much wisdom in the group, and these sessions are only for consultants. So there's no potential clients in the room. It's really only your peers. So whether that's because you want to facilitate a session you've never facilitated before, get feedback on it, you can do that there. If during the session you have questions that you don't have another place to necessarily ask, you can do that there. All of our offerings, which include actually the acquisition of Philanthroforce, are because members have asked for it. Members have been asking for easier ways to hear about client opportunities and find them all in one place. Members have been asking for a better directory as opposed to our Google Sheet that somehow lasted 5 years and 1,100 people with edit access and never broke. But all of those things were able to become more sophisticated and happen because members have told me, this is what I'm looking for, this would help my business, this is what I need. We were talking about this a little bit before joining as well, but the Consultants for Good community is also international. So we're kind of in flux with our member numbers as folks need to switch over to the new platform still. But before that, we had 1,100 members on 6 different continents. So the community is international, and yet, like some of these show, we also have a lot of in-person local meetups. So you have the benefit of the wisdom of an international community. For example, we had somebody who was asking, what do I do? One of my clients' IRS status was just revoked as a nonprofit. Has anyone seen this? That's going to be easier to get an answer to when you have 1,000 other people who might have gone through something like that or have access to resources. Your local community may not have that, but that's really important to have those people who are in your corner that you can go co-work with, that you can call up, that you see within your community. So we have both sides of those local meetups held by folks that are local to your own city and the international community. If you don't see a local meetup in your area, let me know and we can work on getting something set up. Right now, these are in Denver and Boulder in Colorado, Chicago, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Madison, Wisconsin. So we have them in quite a few different cities, but if you would like one where you are, let me know and we can get those set up too. Here's your support team. We're here to support you, to support your business. You can see both Sean Hale and Sean Ramsey, the Philanthroforce co-founders. They'll be sticking around as advisors to help with that transition. Also, Jenny Getzi and Petty Swanjiru, they're both continuing. They used to support Philanthroforce. They're coming over to support Consultants for Good now. So the hope is that you'll feel quite a bit of continuity in the people that you go to and in the community as we make this transition. We also have a fantastic onboarding team. I know I saw at least Ashley and Sanjay here. So if you're on camera, feel free to wave if you're here today. These folks have volunteered for the past couple of years to support Consultants for Good, to welcome new members. They'll be taking on our monthly onboarding sessions. So if you're getting started or it's been a while and you kind of forgot what you can do with your membership, you can join those to get a sense of all of the opportunities, ask any questions that you have. And they've been absolutely crucial to the growth of Consultants for Good and part of the idea of being really peer and member led. So one thing that we do in many of our Consultants for Good sessions that we'll sample here, don't panic, you don't have to do a breakout group if you choose not to, but we like to have some deeper discussions in breakout groups so that there's a chance for really true connection. There's a lot of webinars out there, there's a lot of supports like that, but we want you to be able to connect with your community and know, I've ended up with in a breakout group with Sanjay and Richard, for example, and I really liked what they said about business structure. So I know that I can go give them a call when I need some support on that. So this is a way to really make connection. Today's session's a little different because we're not all Consultants for Good members either yet, or you're in the kind of wider community. But still, I wanted to make sure that we could take some time to make some connections before getting into the nitty-gritty details. So what I'm curious about for each of you is what it feels like to belong to a community. So what does it feel like when you know where to go, when you have a question or something that you need? So it doesn't have to be work, it can be. But for example, I know that if I need to borrow a tool or I need somebody to water my plants when I'm out of town, I know which neighbors I can ask. If I needed somebody to watch my dog, here's who I ask. It could even be something like, I know when I'm looking for a good restaurant, this is the friend I ask, or this is I go to Google Maps and look that up. So what I'm curious is, what does that feel like when you know, here's the people, here's the resource, here's the place I can go when I need something. So I'll put all of this in the chat. But we're going to go into some small breakout groups here. If you don't want to do them, you can stay in the main group and still participate. Not a big deal. But we're going to post to the Jamboard here. Okay, we'll go to the one that already loaded. So on the Jamboard, which I'll share the link with all of you in the chat. As you discuss in your small groups, on the left-hand side here, you can use a sticky note, type what you want. It feels great to be part of a community, and click save. There are a couple of slides here, so you can put it on either one, and then you can move around your little sticky note if you want. So I will post the prompts in the chat and open breakout groups and stop sharing my screen. Before I open up the breakout groups, does anybody have any questions about the prompt for these? All right. Looks like some folks have already started. So I'll open the breakout groups. We'll do these for, let's do 10 minutes. I know that'll give folks a little bit of time in the larger groups to be able to discuss a little bit. And then you can add that to the Jamboard. Something else I would offer is, if there is something that you need a community for or you need support for right now, add that to a sticky note and put your name or email so that if somebody can actually meet that need for you, they can get in touch. So we can do a little bit of real-time support and community building while we do this too. So I'll go ahead and open the breakout groups. I will see you back here in about 10 minutes. For those of you who are going to choose not to join breakout groups, that's just fine. Just go ahead and post on the Jamboard and you can hang out for the next 10 minutes if you're on the phone or can't join a group right now. There we go. Great. So some really fantastic comments here about what it feels like to belong to a community. I see that there's a couple of questions too, so I'll make sure to get to those. But first, I'm curious if anybody has any reflections that you'd like to share from being able to connect with someone else and talk about what it feels like to belong to a community, or anything you loved that the other people in your breakout group shared.
Lauren, I'd be glad to jump in.
Yeah.
So we had a small group, Katie Mendez and myself, and I come from the association world, membership associations and trade associations. And so one of my questions was, and one of the reasons I came today was to see kind of what the overlap is between consultants for nonprofits and for associations, even though 99% of associations are nonprofits, because we seem to kind of operate in different worlds. So I think in our brief conversation, Katie and I came up with a number of crossovers, both in the needs of consultants and the needs of our clients in the nonprofit space and the association space.
Great. Yeah, and do you mean as the association space, as far as the associations that support other consultants or that support nonprofits themselves?
Well, the association, I mean, everything from American Bar Association to the thousands of associations, and many of, and I had worked for those types of associations for many years and then been a consultant for the last 7. But it seems that there are different networks of consultants who work with associations, either through the American Society of Association Executives or other forums, but there doesn't seem to be crossover with the traditional not-for-profit sector. But it seems like if you took away the name of the organization and said, they're all not-for-profits, the organizations have certain needs, consultants have certain areas of expertise, is there any difference?
Mhm. Great. I'll speak to that in a little bit too, but let's
Great.
hear from some other folks too with some reflections from what it feels like to belong in a community. I can start reading a few out there too, but would love to hear from you all first.
I'll just jump in.
Yeah.
So I was in a breakout group with Carrie. Hi, Carrie. And she reflected that part of what's wonderful about this community is that if you look at all of us on camera, we're pretty much all look like we're working from home. And so there's just something about the wide network and the chance to do coffee meetups and connect with people who are all working towards similar targets together in communion in person.
That's great. Thanks, Laura. Anyone else?
I think for me, it's the sense of belonging. I had a great conversation with Tess, and yeah, so many similarities. And I think as human beings, we underestimate like how important sense of belonging is to our overall health. So yeah.
That's great. Thanks so much, Jen. And Mary, I see that you just did a LinkedIn post on community. If you want, and I'll show you where you can do this, you can even now post this to the Consultants for Good Expert Opinions article section, which will link to your profile. So I'll show you where that lives. That is new, thanks to Philanthroforce's work. So I'll show you where that is if that's something that you want to share, or other folks have blogs or things you'd like to share. The thing that I'll say to, I'm forgetting who, oh, it was Bruce that made that comment about, what are the differences? And I see a comment here, what makes us more valuable? The Consultants for Good is the largest community of its type. And that said, I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to provide you more value than anybody else will. I don't know. I don't know exactly what you need. I don't know if this is the right community for you, or if there's another community that feels like it fits exactly what you need. There's actually one of my favorite quotes that I got her permission to put it on the website was something like, people in Consultants for Good aren't selling you their 7-figure shit. And that's the idea. I'm not going to tell you, you're going to make $1 million in your first year as a consultant. I don't know what you're going to do. I believe in all of you, but I can't do it for you. And part of the intention behind this group is that it's not transactional. The point is not, you pay a membership fee, I give you these things. The point is, you're contributing to a bigger picture, to a bigger community, to a bigger vision. You're showing up to the gym, you're paying your gym membership. I can't work out for you. I can't do that for you. You have to show up and do all of that, but I can provide a container. Consultants for Good can provide a container, can bring everybody together to do all of these things in community and bring those resources to you. There are a ton of other groups, most of which we don't technically see as competitors, but that we collaborate. That's how our relationship with Philanthroforce has been. We've looked at partnerships with other groups. I know Jess Campbell runs a fantastic Slack group for consultants. She and I partner and give each other referral codes so that we can help each other make money on things that could be seen as competition. And so the intention is that Consultants for Good runs in the same way that I'm asking all of you to do, which is with that abundance mindset, with that collaborative mindset, and with finding the things that are going to be right for what you need to grow your business. And you're the only one that actually, is able to answer that question too. Fantastic. I'll share the Jamboard. You can, I'll share it on LinkedIn and tag folks too, so that you can see it later. But I really love to see all of the notes here, that it feels like a regulated nervous system. That's fantastic. Finding your people, a sense of belonging and shared values, and it feels human. And that's part of the intention is, yes, it's an online community, but really to be community focused, not transactional. So let me switch back over to the slides here. All right. So I want to walk through all of the different things that you have access to if you're a Consultants for Good member as a consultant. We also do have nonprofit memberships and foundation memberships for folks who are interested. But I'll focus on the consultant ones today because these are the only ones that are changing. The nonprofit memberships for now are staying exactly how they've always been. You just log in at a different website. So we have the discussion forums. If you're already a member, you've seen these. These are in Google Groups and in Slack, but these are the place where you can ask your questions. You know, which accountants do you recommend? There's a chain right now going on about virtual assistants. Somebody actually posted an RFP that they're looking to see, can anybody collaborate with me on this? Parts of these are the things that I do best. Other things, I'd love to partner with somebody else to do that. And that's part of the beauty of being able to collaborate. So that, I mean, you're running your own business, so you don't have to do all the things you had to do in a job in part. So don't keep doing them. You know, you can bring in other people to do the things that you don't love doing. We have events, which are both our monthly consultant sessions. Our next one is in mid-December, December 15th. And it uses kind of that breakout group style with a prompt to be able to make some connections. This one, though, will be specifically targeted for introverts who hate networking. So if that is you, extroverts are also welcome, but you already knew that. But this one's for introverts who don't love networking to really make more personal, curious connections instead of feeling like you have to sell yourself. We do that sort of event about quarterly, and then we also have the in-person meetups every so often, depending on the needs of that city. I think I saw on the Jamboard someone interested in running one of those in Orange County. We have one in Minneapolis and Los Angeles, both tomorrow, if you're interested in joining those, but Orange County is just far enough away, and LA traffic, that makes sense. So we should look at one in Orange County too. So whoever you are, feel free to send me an email. I'll show you the new directory. This gives consultants access to be promoted, to be easier to find. The search features are really incredible that Philanthroforce had built out. So if you were familiar with that, this is using that same system, that same setup that they had done. So for example, if you specifically wanted to look for a consultant who's a strategic planner who also speaks Spanish, because a lot of the people they'll be working with speak Spanish, you can search for that. It gets a lot more specific and it's a lot easier to search. What that also does is allows you to make easier connections with other consultants. So yes, it's for clients to find you, but if I'm looking for somebody to partner with, or I'm just curious to make more connections, I think I saw Adam on this call, maybe Stu as well. Both of them have told me that they will just reach out to other consultants, make connections, and have gained a lot of business referrals, but also just other business support through that as well. We also have a couple of partnerships that give you discounts on events, conferences, other things. If there's something you would like to see, like another membership, like a conference, let me know and we'll see if we can get a discounted rate for Consultants for Good members. That's one of the beauties about being the size group that we are, is that it makes it a bit easier for things like that. Everything in Consultants for Good is designed so that you get what you put in. You don't have to participate in anything if you don't want to. The more you participate, the more you get out of it, and the more benefits, the more sense of community you'll find. So I'm going to do a live demo of what the new website looks like and some of those resources I mentioned. So for those of you that had been Philanthroforce members, you will log in on the Consultants for Good website, but nothing else about your login information has changed. If you're brand new or you were a Consultants for Good member, you can go to the homepage here. And register, if my mouse scrolls, for your account. We have a 30-day free trial on all the accounts so that you can really test it out and see if it's for you. And so I'm logged in as if I was in my own account, but I went into Kathy's account here. This is where on your dashboard, you can update all of your publicly visible information as well as contact information and view all of your benefits. So from your dashboard, so on the top there, I clicked logged in and typed in Kathy's information, or would have if I knew it. And here on the dashboard, this is where there's those expert opinion articles that I mentioned. So I'll show you what those look like. As a paid Consultants for Good member, you get access to post unlimited expert opinion articles or videos. And those look like this. So you can put your article title, add your content, and more information. And those will all go under this article session. What we do with those is, one, they're a great way for you to just get more traction and demonstrate the value that you provide. These aren't self-promotional. These aren't, hi, I'm Lauren, here's what I do. These are, let me share. So great example here by Kathy, 3 ways to improve support for board members governing small nonprofits. So providing value that also demonstrates what you do as a consultant. And then that is the same thing for videos here if you want to post those as well. With these, we will actually post these both on our LinkedIn page and in our Loop newsletter so that you can get even more traction and even more visibility with the content that you've shared. So back over to Kathy's dashboard here. You can update your information, which she still needs to do a little bit more of. I won't click through those because that's actually a lot of her private information. We won't click on that. But if you want to manage your account, manage billing, write your articles or videos, anything like that is up at the top. And as you scroll down, this is going to be new for all members. Here's where you can get your links to the Google group, where you can post any questions that you have, opportunities, looking for collaborations, or the Slack channel. That's a little bit looser. So we do have a self-promotion channel if you want to introduce yourself or have some more back and forth conversations, do some more self-promotion, or just have, if you prefer Slack to email. Some of the resources I mentioned, we run roughly monthly onboarding calls that will walk you through a lot of what we're doing today. And you can view all of the past content. So all of our sessions are recorded except for the ones that are only breakout groups. So you can view all of those from the last 5 years right there. You can also view upcoming events. This calendar here shows you everything, which includes the Zoom information as well to the members only events. That's information that folks who aren't members don't get access to and won't be able to see. And then here's those additional member discounts right now for the DEI Institute and Nonprofit Learning Lab. Other great resources, we have Get Matched. So this is the easy match functionality that Philanthroforce built. So let's say that Kathy wanted to hire an accountant for her business, or a nonprofit wanted to hire a facilitator for theirs. When you go into Easy Match, you add your information, the skills that you're looking for, and all the information about the project. Just like before, both for Philanthroforce and Consultants for Good, we do require that you include your estimated budget for the project. That helps a lot with pay equity, and it just helps save everybody time. If you think you have $500 towards a website and all of your bids give you $10,000 projects, everybody's time has been wasted. If instead you're clear about your budget, people will send you realistic projects. Once things are sent here, it actually sends an email to everyone who specializes in that category or specialty. So if I had chosen website design, all the website designers will get a note saying, hey, here's a project that you might be interested in. If you do not have a paid account, you'll get those. Right now, you can pay $25 to get access to the actual lead itself. Paid members, you get unlimited access, you get everything. And I'm very open to feedback on your thoughts about that setup too moving forward. Opportunities all sit on the opportunity board here as well. So we have a few that are open right now. You can go ahead and view the opportunity and either accept or decline the lead if you're interested. The last piece that I want to show you all is the directory. So again, this comes from Philanthroforce. And this is where you can view, right now we have 641 members. Again, we're still waiting for some folks to come over, but you really can get so specific on what you're looking for. So if you wanted to look for, let's look for our advocacy and policy folks who specifically do campaign strategy. And so we'll find them. If I wanted to look at how long they've been consulting, how long they've been in the nonprofit sector, I could do all of that too, which I might need to do because 16 people is a lot of people to reach out to for my potential project here. So as a consultant, this makes it a lot easier for folks to find you, send you a message, and learn more about your work. Right. So I'll share a little bit about what the actual upgrade process, what that looks like in a moment. But before we do that, I wanted to kind of ground us again in a reading from The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I have it on the screen if you want it. If you don't like reading along, that's fine. You can also close your eyes, ground a little bit, whatever you want to be present. We are meant to midwife dreams for one another. We cannot labor in place of one another, but we can support the labor that each must undertake to birth their art and foster it to maturity. Envy, backbiting, criticism have no place in our midst, nor do ill temper, hostility, sarcasm, chivying for position. These attitudes may belong in the world, but they do not belong among us. We are encouraged to believe there is only so much room at the top. Hooey. Water seeks its own level, and water rises collectively. Artists often help each other. We always have, although mythology tells us otherwise. The truth is that when we do, very powerful things happen. For example, film director Martin Scorsese developed, shaped, and fine-tuned the script for Schindler's List. They gave the project to his friend Steven Spielberg, feeling the material should be his. This unballyhooed act of creative generosity finally gave Spielberg his shot in an Oscar as a real director, even though Scorsese knew it might cost him his own shot, at least this year. So we must find those who believe in us and in whom we believe, and band together for support, encouragement, and protection. Imagine a garden. Each plant has its name and its place. There is no one flower that cancels the need for another. Each bloom has its unique and irreplaceable beauty. Let our gardening hands be gentle ones. Let us not root up one another's ideas before they have time to bloom. Let us bear with the process of growth, dormancy, cyclicality, fruition, and reseeding. Let there be always a place for our inner toddler to try, to falter, to fail, to try again. Let us remember that in nature's world, every loss has meaning, and the same is true for us. Turn to good use, a creative failure may be the compost that nourishes next season's creative success. Remember, we are in this for the long haul, the ripening and harvest, not the quick fix. Where I have seen collaboration and supporting each other like this in Consultants for Good has been really incredible, coming from noticing people really holding things tightly to themselves and not sharing to this culture of abundance. I've seen people collaborate on projects together or even build full consulting firms together, coming together to find more equitable ways for nonprofits to find consultants. And even sharing one of my favorite, which was somebody who shared an RFP saying, I'm going to apply to this, but I wanted to share in case anybody else also wanted to apply, literally creating more competition for themselves, but not seeing it that way, in an attempt to make sure that there was more support and better support, the best support for that nonprofit. The way that this showed up for me personally is that this past summer, my grandma was doing very poorly. She had a stroke and wasn't doing well. And the week that happened, I knew I had to rush back to Wisconsin to say goodbye. And we had a networking event, we had an onboarding session, and a few other things going on. I reached out actually to Sean Hale with Philanthroforce to see, can you just take this event? And I reached out to Liana and Sanjay, two of our onboarding members, to ask if they could run the onboarding session. And everything was just taken care of. I could have canceled and rescheduled, but to know that I have a community in my corner and that you all have a community in your corners as well, where if you need something, these are the people that will show up for you. And I've seen it happen time and time again over the past 5 years. My vision for Consultants for Good is a more connected nonprofit sector, where if you're an aspiring consultant, you can start your consulting business regardless of access to wealth, health insurance, other resources. If you're currently a consultant, you have what you need to create a thriving business and grow in the way, find the freedom that you're looking for. I also hope that nonprofits can more easily find the support that they need to thrive. So to be a part of that vision alongside Consultants for Good, if you had been a Philanthroforce member, right now you have all the benefits of Consultants for Good until December 13th, but you can also upgrade permanently from your dashboard. And we're offering a 33% lifetime discount as a thank you for being part of kind of the original community. and we'll prorate it, take off anything that you've already paid for your remaining Philanthro Force term. If you had been a Consultants for Good member, you get that same discount, that same 33% discount, which is good until December 20th. And if you're brand new, welcome. You can start your free trial, and all of this is at consultantsforgood.com, which I will put in the chat. If you're a nonprofit, we have nonprofit memberships, which give you access to webinars and support to find the right consultant quickly. You can also post your consulting projects and opportunities on Easy Match, which I showed earlier, and find the right expert for what you're looking for in the directory. If you're a foundation or a funder, please invite your grantees to post their consulting projects and opportunities on Easy Match and search our directory so they can go beyond their usual suspects of who they'd hire as a consultant, and get in touch to support equitable access to the nonprofit consulting sector. We have just a few minutes here. So I'm going to close, and I'll be sharing the recording with everybody as well as the slides. So if you have any other questions, also feel free to just send me an email. I tend to be pretty available, and the intention is that everything is built on relationships. So there's no fancy contact form or things like that. Send me an email if you have a request or a question. Be really happy to help, and really looking forward to meet more of you as we continue with Consultants for Good. Thanks, everyone.
Great job, Lauren. Thank you all.
Thanks, Mary.